I am a second generation soldier, as it is. My father was also in the army. This is the place where I have always come back at the end of the day. In our lives, in the army, we are separated so often. So it's not just a question of coming back at the end of the day. It's also a question of coming back after every 6 months or 9 months. I'm not aesthetic enough. I don't have artful nature as such. My orientation is essentially soldierly. So I've left it to my wife completely.
Well, it's been my passion also, and I'm lucky to be blessed and been born in such a family and then got married into such a family that they always were fond of good things. They were all collectors basically. So they had a lot of, collectibles from all over.
This isn't just a government bungalow in Delhi. It's a living archive of valor, travel, art, and an extraordinary partnership. Hello and welcome on Home Along. I'm Kavita Ralhat, and today we are stepping inside the story-soaked world of one of India's most decorated military leaders, Lieutenant General Syed Hasnain, and his wife Sabiha Hasnain. She's a great artist. I'm sure today we all will take inspiration from her work on how to decorate our homes beautifully. I'm really excited to meet them. Come on in. Hello,
Good afternoon, Kavita.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Hello, ma'am.
Welcome to our house.
Thank you. Such an honor to meet you both. And thank you for having us over.
Thank you so much. And we'll take you around the house.
Yes,
You so wish.
can't wait to see. Please give us a home tour.
Come.
So this is the foyer. So this is where the entrance, we come into the foyer. These are of course the family photographs and everything. This is interesting. I'll show you these pieces. This is, so there is walnut pieces from Kashmir, all hand carved. Then the copper is also from Kashmir. Copper is again something which is very
Speciality
of Kashmir. These two pieces, I think, are from Rwanda. No, I think Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And then this is all, this chess pieces, if you see, they are so fine. This is also from Vietnam. Those masks are all
These are from Mozambique.
Mozambique.
These are from deep inside the bush in Mozambique, near South Africa.
So every place has actually got from some country or other. I'll show you these lampshades. They're very pretty. They were made by an artist. I got them made on order from Srinagar. And this piece, I have done it. This is my mosaic, one of my mosaic.
I think this took the better part of 3 months to do all
Yeah, because these are small pieces of tiles, glass tiles, which I hand cut and I made it.
And this painting again done by you?
This was a long time ago. And these are again 4 tapestries, flower tapestries from Russia. These I had picked up on one of my travels.
A lot of tapestries from Moscow.
I bought a lot of them, various travels, here and there. And these are family photographs.
You must mention things that you pick up from the Banjara market in Gurgaon.
Yeah.
Some amazing things that you can go and pick up.
Sometimes, yeah, you find.
These are some artifacts from Rwanda,
these are from Rwanda,
in Africa, where I was posted in 1994 during the Rwandan genocide. And I picked this up from the bush out there.
Then this is of course our Kashmir, little bit of a Kashmir corner, though you will find a lot of Kashmiri handicrafts with us, but this is from the famous Suffering Moses store there.
And this is one of the early pieces of my parents. A
These two
pair of
pieces.
Chinese vases bought in Hyderabad way back in 1960. Here is quite a rare piece, the one which you see here, the one on the right particularly. This is made of seashell, and you see it's a Chinese art essentially, and you find this is a Chinese citizen. Both of them are Chinese citizens. The unique thing about this is, as a part of my life story, is that it is reputed in my family that when my mother was expecting me, she had this particular piece of art in front of her for those various months. And somehow I have a remote resemblance to the Chinese citizen who's here.
That's what they said, yeah, in the family, that's what they said.
You can talk about the samovar.
Samovar, yeah. This was brought from, I think, Central Asia.
This is from Central Asia, from
Asia.
Uzbekistan, I think. Of course, all that was part of the Soviet Union at that time, perhaps.
By his grandfather, he had brought it from there in one of tour of duties which he went to. He had brought, and this is very, very old. I think.
And it's a functional one.
It's a functional one.
It's a functional samovar. Although we personally have never sort of.
No, in Lansdowne we did.
Yes, we did once.
We
did it once or twice. But otherwise, we have not.
You can make the tea in it, and you can serve it off it. It's a nice piece, and this piece is a mosaic. It's a detachable butler's tray, which you call. This I have made. In fact, this is one of my recent works which I have done.
This is part of the
mosaic art which I do.
Which she does.
Under my brand, Tabby and Home. So this piece is an interesting piece for most of the viewers. I think this is a pandan which I inherited from my grandmother, and these are where all the ingredients of the pan used to come. And here in this tray, the leaves, the pan leaves were kept, and this is how the ladies of the house prepared the pans. And once the pan was made, they used to serve it in the khasdan. So this is the pandan and this is the khasdan. So the pan were rolled up, into those conical shapes and kept here. And when the guests came, they were served out of this.
Ma'am, all this is made of silver?
This is all silver, yeah. Those days we didn't have
and
any.
These candelabras you see here, these are rare. These were presented to my father when he visited Tehran, along with General P.P. Kumaramangalam in 1968. This is a time when the Shah of Iran and the famous Queen
Faradiba, yeah.
When they used to rule Iran, and so they called on the Shah, and the Shah presented him these pieces, and they are still with us. You can see shining silver, absolutely.
Come, Kavita. This is I'm very fond of blue and white. So this is my blue and white wall and collection. These are things from all over, family heirlooms. This painting is again done by me. These are two tapestries from Russia again. I had bought these. Then these are from all over, Bangkok, Moscow. This is from Turkey. These are from Jordan. These are from Jordan.
Jordan, correct.
These are
That's
from Jordan. So we just created a blue corner here.
Sir, ma'am, you have a beautiful house. I can admire this for hours and hours. Whom should I credit this to?
I would say I have nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do?
I am not aesthetic enough. I don't have artful nature as such. My orientation is essentially soldierly. So I have left it to my wife completely.
So it's all your contribution. Every wall has a story to tell. How are you able to create this?
Well, my life has had a long story, and then being born in such a family and then getting married into a family which has a lot of heritage, army heritage, and my in-laws and my Ata's grandfather also. They had a lot of they were all collectors, and they had a good collection of paintings, curios, which I inherited. And then from my mother's And my parents' side, my grandparents' side, I have a lot of artwork. I self am an artist. I paint, I do mosaic work. So because of that, I like to create a home which is full of memories. Each piece, you can say, has a memory to it, a sentiment to it, and some personal story is there behind every piece. So when you put it all together, it has to bring good warmth and loving environment into the house, and I'm sure the people who are visiting also have the same feeling when they come.
Yes, certainly, certainly. I was just having a look that every wall, every corner either has a medal or a memory or some beautiful piece of art. I want to know, do you remember which is the first object that you placed when you moved in here?
In this house, yeah, actually this wall behind me has got the set of 5 paintings. There are 2 tapestries and 3 paintings. So the centerpiece, the main piece, this is a painting which I have inherited from his parents. So they had bought it, I think, in the early 50s or early 60s, 50s, early 60s from Lucknow. There was a very famous artist there. They had got it commissioned, in fact. He made it for them. And that always used to have a pride of place in their home. And I always like to put this on the main wall first, and then everything else comes around it. So this is the first thing I put up here.
I want to know what makes this space home for you.
Well, this is the place where I have always come back at the end of the day, so should we say. But in our lives in the army, we are separated so often, and in our case particularly, we've been separated for many, many years. So it's not just a question of coming back at the end of the day. It's also a question of coming back after every 6 months or 9 months. For example, I was in Sri Lanka, and from Sri Lanka we could not speak to each other for the better part of about 8 months.
Oh God.
And letters came once in maybe 20 days. So at the end of the day, you only came back to your home. And this is where the warmth was, this is where you felt at ease.
And how has your time when you were in the service, it has changed the understanding of home? How has that influenced?
Well, you see, as you are aware perhaps, that I am a second generation soldier, as it is. My father was also in the army. So one saw this experienced this entire aspect of separation many times. I lived in bashas. I don't know whether you know what is a basha. A basha is a temporary shelter made out of mud and with a thatch roof. I lived in that in Jammu in 43, 44 degrees temperature with snakes fighting on top of the roof, right? And snakes dropping into our bedroom once in a while. No refrigerators, no air conditioners. There was no power in those days at all.
That was with your parents?
That was with my parents. That was with my parents. So I've known it since then. And thereafter, the kind of comforts which have come my way progressively over life, as one rose in service, in rank, my wife was always there by the side. The children were always there. And our family always aspired for something a little better for our own home. And the home became a place of great comfort. And that is what one always looked forward to come back to.
I want to know that as a wife of a senior army officer, you've moved houses so many times. How do you create the essence of home every time you go to a new place?
I think, main thing is that you carry your own memories and your own personal things. But Fauji wives are extremely talented. I mean, if you're saying this for me, you meet the others, they're extremely talented. They can create a home out of nothing.
So whenever you move houses, whenever you're moving to a new place, and then when you're decorating it, who takes the call that which pieces goes on display?
No say in
No
that.
say.
I have no say. Because I always claim that I have nothing to do with art. I don't have an artistic sense at all. So I leave it completely to her.
So different departments.
Yeah, completely. It's better, no fights. You stay to your strategy and your army life. I mean,
You do what you are good at,
I'll do what I am. So it's better that way.
Right, right. And you have so many collectibles from across the globe. Is there any one piece that's your favorite?
Well, in this whole collection inside this room, I would say, Yes, you can see that piece made of walnut. It's an old man actually with a stick. The stick is missing now today. This goes back to the early 50s, and it predates my birth. My father went to Jammu and Kashmir sometime with my mother, and they bought this from a very, very famous shop called Suffering Moses. And Suffering Moses is probably the best artwork of Kashmir. They always had. And it suffered hugely in the 2014 flood in Kashmir. They lost a lot of their artifacts. But I had the pleasure of inheriting this from my parents, and this is what we normally place as the first piece in our house whenever we shift house. And incidentally, I have shifted house 38 times.
38 times. Oh my God.
So you can, and the credit for that, of course, goes to my wife, because in the end, at one stage, she was so fed up of my interference, so much fed up of my interference that I was, I never had an idea as to how to start putting things together. So she told me, you go away. So I went away to a course-mate's house and spent 7 days there with him and his wife. And she shifted the house and settled the whole house. And I came back to a warm welcome in that house. That is what is called real life.
This house actually feels like a museum of lived stories. I want to know, how do you decide which one stays on?
I think the one which is closest to the heart stays on always. Yeah. So things actually which have been inherited by us from the parents and grandparents, those are closest to the heart, obviously, because otherwise materially you can, if you want to spend money, you can buy the best of, crystalware and all from all over the world, and these days everything is available so readily and easily. But things which are close to your heart, they'll always, which carry a story behind it from your parents and grandparents, family, heritage, those are the ones which always stay closest.
And I think that's why this house looks and feels different, because it's not that you have bought pieces and then placed them. Every piece has a story, has a significance.
And also the ones which we have bought ourselves have a story behind it. Like he was in Rwanda. So, and I never joined him because Rwanda was a very he was in Rwanda at the height of the genocide, the Rwanda 94, the genocide. So the few pieces which he picked up from there, that also has a story behind it, So that is how, those are the things, some of them are there.
Yeah, I saw
Sri
them on the
Lanka,
wall,
but
yes.
Sri Lanka, of course, he never bought anything. Nothing is there from Sri Lanka because he was completely in the jungles.
Deep in the jungles in Sri Lanka.
So there's nothing from there.
Nothing very much that you could get out.
But otherwise, wherever we have been, he has been posted, whether I've lived with him or he has just been there alone and I've just visited. We always used to carry back a few pieces which became very dear to us.
When I got picked up by the government to go and command the Chinar Corps in Srinagar, which is one of the most prestigious jobs that the Indian Army can ever give anyone. Sabiha was that time working at a very senior position in a corporate job. And that's the time when I had a frank talk with her, when I told her that I need you now. And she asked me, she said, what is it for? So I said, I need you in Badami Bagh, where my headquarters would be in Kashmir. I need you to provide happiness to Badami Bagh, right? And she readily agreed. She resigned from her job and she came there. And the idea was that if you can keep Badami Bagh happy, you can keep the entire army in Kashmir happy. Happiness was the most important thing. Because, otherwise,
those were
Badami
stressful
Bagh is a
days
place
actually.
which is so strangulated because no one can go out, it's all under security.
And those days that stone pelting was going on there, so it was a tough time. After that it had subsided,
today, of course, it's a
much
place
better.
to live in. But that time it was very challenging.
So what's that one thing that we'll find in every army officer's home?
Oh, trophies. Lots and lots of trophies, because we believe in taking away something or the other from each place, creating a memory out of it. For example, here itself I showed you that walnut piece of that old man. Now, as I told you, it dates to the early 50s. And right next to that is our photograph as a couple in a photo frame and a lamp, which is also from Suffering Moses, the same shop in Srinagar. And that is dated 2011. So it's almost 65 years later that I have gone back to the same shop and bought it, where my parents had gone and bought it, right? So we have a lot of things from Kashmir here. We have a lot of things from the northeast, perhaps, or my travels internationally. I've been in Africa. Have a lot of things from Africa here in the house. But besides that, it is the trophies which makes a world of difference to our lives. And we like to polish them and keep them well. Flags, any kind of symbolism. And the army believes a lot in symbols. Symbolism is a very important aspect in the army. So you can see that I've been hugely inspired by my father, his career, his stay in the army, to ultimately become a soldier, a career soldier in the army. Everything in this house actually revolves around many memories of my parents, my father's collectibles, which you will find all around this drawing room and dining room. And I have a lot of them in my office. So if you care to come with me, perhaps I'll show some of them to you. You will be quite fascinated with the stories connected to them.
Sure, sir. Let's go. Sir, having a tour of the house, we sat at different places. It's a different feeling, but coming to your office, which is surrounded by, beautifully decorated by so many achievements, all your medals and trophies, it's a different feeling altogether right now.
Actually, Kavita, the feeling is even more special for me because I am living in the same area, this Purana Kala Road, where my father and mother, my parents, lived here in 1970-71. So that's 54 years ago. It's great to be here. And my father's photograph you can see here. He was very much a old world soldier, same regiment as mine, the Garhwal Rifles as I mentioned. And I wear the regimental tie proudly also. There are various pieces of history inside this room which we can keep discussing.
Please take us through all those favorite pieces of yours.
Let's say one thing. You see that large statue there, the statue there of the soldier. That's one of the very, very important pieces in this house. This is the statue of the unknown soldier at a place called Lansdowne in the Garhwal Himalayas. And a copy of this, a silver copy of this, pure silver copy of this, was presented by the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the mayor of a city in France, where my regiment had fought in the First World War and where we won 2 Victoria Crosses at that time. This is now the war memorial of my regimental center at Lansdowne. Now, whoever heads the regiment, and I became the colonel of the regiment, normally at the end of your tenure, you're always gifted this particular trophy. And so it occupies a place of pride in my house in particular. If I may mention other things here, this photograph of my father here.
This one?
This one as a brigadier. This is in Tawang, where he took the brigade back after the 1962 war, reoccupied Tawang. It was a very famous brigade, 190, also known as the Korea Brigade. This photograph was taken during a visit of none other than the most famous personality, Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw. It's on this particular day that he was visiting my father. He was the army commander of the Eastern Command. And I'm fortunate also that at the same time I have a photograph of Field Marshal with me right here,
Yes.
receiving the medallion, which is right here. If I may show it to you, the medallion is here. This is called the Lentane Medal. This is what I was receiving here.
And all these medals are yours?
This is a system which the Americans follow. I think it's a brilliant system. Instead of giving you large trophies which no one can carry back home, given the kind of fares that people charge on for luggage today, it's best to give you a small medallion. It's a system. This is the system I think most of the Indian Army has adopted this today. I was one of those early ones who introduced this system. I used to always give away medallions, including to the Honorable Chief of the Army Staff, General V.K. Singh, when he visited me when I was a Corps Commander. So this is a collection of medallions which have come my way from different places I have visited or served with. And of course here right in front are my father's medals.
Wow.
From his time, Burma, fought with 1st Garhwal Rifles in Burma. There's a small little leaf out here you'll see.
Yes.
This is the mention in dispatches. This is a decoration actually, which you get for valor and bravery. He was wounded in action while getting this. He also has a Param Vishish Seva medal. And if you noticed, I also have a Param Vishish Seva medal. The two highest peacetime honors that the army gives.
These are the highest honors?
Highest peacetime honors which the army gives. Distinguished Service honors. Not too many people can boast of this fact that both father and son have won both the same decorations.
How amazing is that?
One of the people who could boast of this was General Bipin Rawat, who was also a subordinate under me at one stage and a colleague of mine and a very respected colleague of mine. General Bipin Rawat's father was a Lieutenant General also. He had the Param Vishish Seva medal and General Rawat also had the Param Vishish Seva medal. Other interesting things in this office which I can sort of guide you towards, you can see some of those flags which are there.
Yes.
Right? So it starts from one of the lower flags, that's my regimental flag, goes on to the brigade flag with 1 star, which was I got at Uri, when I was commanding my brigade in Uri.
Yes.
And then I commanded the same division in Baramulla, the very famous Dagger Division. The Dagger Division was the savior of Kashmir in 1947. It continues to serve in Kashmir today. Thereafter, the next 2 star is the Army War College. And then the sheer honor of commanding the Strike Corps, 21 Corps, which is the first 3-star flag you see.
Okay.
Located at Bhopal, which we always say in the army, it's the corps which will finish the last battle with Pakistan. And on top of that is the most distinguished formation of the Indian Army, the Chinar Corps, Kashmir, 15 Corps. You can see the Chinar leaf there. I'm wearing the Chinar leaf for you here.
Yes.
Right? And you've seen the battle axe on it. And above that is my regimental flag in a 3-star mode, which flew on my car when I was the colonel of the regiment or the head of my regiment, the Garhwal Rifles. And of course the national flag tops it.
How nice, how nice. So do you ever feel the weight of your father's legacy, like you are carrying something larger than yourself?
Yes, when I stepped into the command of my unit 4 Garhwal Rifles, and incidentally I stepped into the command in a most challenging situation. I stepped into the command at the Siachen Glacier, which is, the highest battlefield in the world, going up to 21,000 feet.
And the temperature going up to...
Temperature going down to minus 50, minus 55 degrees centigrade. So that's where I commanded the unit, and I'm very happy. I brought the unit to the Pangong Tso, where you saw what happened in 2020 with the Chinese, last 5 years ago. So this was the place where I had commanded and taken over my unit and commanded it. While taking over the unit, I felt the burden of expectation, hugely. Of course, I was a part of the unit. I had grown up in the unit. I can relate to you one story which you may find interesting, that when the war in Sri Lanka broke out in 1987, my unit was earmarked to move to Sri Lanka. I was not with the unit, I was serving somewhere else at that time. I was serving in Jaipur in a nice peace station. But the moment the news came that the unit was going to Sri Lanka, I put it in writing and said, I wish to be posted out and I want to go back to my unit. I want to go to Sri Lanka with the unit because the unit is moving into a warlike situation. Now, this is a usual thing in the armed forces. If we find that something with which you have served is going into war,
Needs you.
you can't stay away from it. You have to be there. And as you say, the pressure of expectation. I was expected to command that unit one day. I couldn't have stayed away from the unit at the time when it was entering the most challenging situation of its existence. So that's why I chose to go back there.
How important it is for you, because you have moved to so many different places, 38 times you have moved
that's
houses,
right.
to have all these things with you every time you move to a different house. Is it like...
I have lost a lot of stuff, memorabilia. I have lost a lot of stuff of my parents, but I think we've been fortunate. We have been able to retain most of it. I expect that much of this will be gifted to my unit later, when we are not in a position to be able to look after all this, because this is all history and it needs to go into a place where it is respected. The one place in the army where your things will always be respected is your regiment and your unit. So that's where it will ultimately go. As you say, moving around with all this stuff, loaded in, loaded up. But a home without all this, you can see the legacy here, see? A home without all this, without these symbols, would be no home for me.
Ma'am, every corner of your house is done so beautifully, but still I want to ask you, which is your favorite corner of the house?
I think the favorite corner is where I am sitting. We are both sitting, in fact.
Okay.
Because blue and white pottery and ceramics I have collected for a long time. And I always like to make one corner of the house which is blue and white. In every house of mine, I will always used to do one corner. So this is my favorite corner.
Nice. We are sitting at the dining table right now, and I can see all these beautiful paintings that are done by you. Such different piece of art and such amazing piece of art. Please tell us about your creative process. What's going on in your mind when you're painting them? Do you think about the memories of the places that you have lived? How do you create such beautiful
Not really
pieces?
the memories of the places. I'm just inspired by nature. So, flowers, any place we have been to, I always definitely do visit the farm market and the hill stations, especially where we have been posted to. I used to love just going for walks into the wild and collect flowers. So flowers, leaves, mountains, landscapes, these are the things which inspire me.
Ma'am, of all the houses that you have been to, which was the most difficult to do up?
Well, I think this house was quite a challenge.
This one?
Because in the army, when you get these bigger kind of command houses and all, you get a lot of support from the army to set it up, and then furniture and a lot of things are, a part of the house. You don't have to carry it with you. But this house was a raw house completely, and it's a very old house. I think these houses came up in the early 1950s, when after independence, 47 independence, they were made for the government officials. And it must have been through so many different people have lived here. and it was in a pretty bad state, quite badly. And then there were a lot of features, like there were too many doors and windows which I had to get closed, and getting it done on your own, that was a big challenge. And then converting into a place where you're comfortable with to do it up, this was a big challenge, this house.
And now my last question. Each and every piece in your house is such beautiful thing to look at. Like, look at this spread. It's so amazing. I want to know, what's your trick when you buy things, or one piece of advice you'd like to give us, that whenever we are buying stuff for our house, what are the things one should keep in mind so that things become timeless?
Yeah, I think that's very important, especially for the younger people to understand when they are building up a collection or they are just starting off in their lives. I never bought things randomly. It was always an overall vision that I want, what I really like and what I like as a collection. So right from the beginning, if you see even these on this table, these small pieces, it's not that everything was collected together.
From
one place or the other. Like I was collecting blues crockery, ceramics. So you pick up a random piece here, but then your overall vision should be that I want a collection of these things so that when I put them together, they look like very attractive together. So that is one advice, and don't get carried away by the fashion of the trend those days which is going on. And even the cheaper stuff which you get, some things can be very attractive. You can do them up and you can create a complete corner out of those things. In fact, you'll be surprised, in one of our homes in Srinagar, when we were there, there was an attic there which had been lying closed for nearly 30-40 years. Nobody had used it. All the garbage and the junk was placed there, and I got it removed. And I went to the ordnance depot and I collected all the furniture and the pieces which were being discarded there, the tires and and I painted up things and all, and I created a complete den. We called it the den. It had music and it had, it was really nice place. So you can create it, but it has to be an environment you create.
From stories of service to symbols of strength, this house has been built not just with concrete, but with courage and care. It was really an honor for me to walk through the past, the present, and the deeply personal with Lieutenant General Syed Hasnain and his wife. This is Home Along. Until we meet next time, where we believe that every home has a heartbeat and a story waiting to be told.